Johanna, the Cooking Mama, and today I would like to teach you how to make matzo ball soup. Matzo balls are the most critical part of matzo ball soup, and a homemade matzo is absolutely delicious. I start with 1 box of matzo. Each box is about 16 ounces, and I am crumbling it into the Cuisinart. I will probably not use the entire box. I need about a cup to a cup and a half of matzo crumbs. But I'm going to use it anyway, because it's always better to be safe than sorry. So I'm just kind of crumbling them up and putting them into my Cuisinart. I start by pulsing to get the big pieces down. Come take a look. As you can see, there's still some pieces in here, so I'm going to pulse it until it is in fine crumbs. There we go. So now I want a cup and a half. Actually, now I want a cup and a third of matzo crumbs, and I add them to my KitchenAid. Before I start with the other ingredients, I'm going to show you a secret that you won't find in most matzo ball recipes, but you will find them in my grandmom Rose Aronson, actually great-grandmom Rose Aronson's recipe, and this is what my mother said set her matzo balls apart from everybody else's. This is schmaltz. That's the Yiddish word for liquid chicken fat, and we get that from cleaning off the top of our homemade chicken stock. To learn how to make homemade chicken stock, you can watch my episode on chicken and dumplings. I clean off the top of the chicken stock and I come up with this. This is the liquid chicken fat, and we use that to give the dumplings, the matzo balls, which essentially are Jewish dumplings, flavor. So I'm going to pour about a tablespoon in just to coat the bottom of the pan. And then here's another secret. This is a sweet onion, very finely chopped, and a half a cup of very finely chopped parsley. And I saute that in the chicken fat to give us a little bit of flavor. Okay, so I have sauteed my onion and the schmaltz along with the parsley. And I'm just going to turn it off the heat and put it into this clear pie dish because I want it to cool a little before I add it to the matzo meal. And here I have my schmaltz, which I'm going to add about another 2 tablespoons of to my mixture. And I'm going to get a 1/4 cup of my homemade chicken stock to add as needed. Many people use seltzer water. I like to use the chicken stock and the onion. The reason that I do that is that I think, and Grandma Rose thought, that it makes a more flavorful matzo ball. So to my matzo meal, I am going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And that's 1 1/3 cups of matzo meal and a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And then I'm adding 5 eggs. Turn the KitchenAid on. And I'm adding automatically another 1/3 cup of the matzo meal because those were really some very large eggs. And now I'm adding my sauteed onion and parsley. One teaspoon of sea salt or kosher salt. That was a little short. 2 tablespoons of schmaltz. Now, if you're a vegetarian, you can use vegetable oil instead. And if my mixture appears dry, I will add a 1/4 cup of chicken broth. But my mixture does not appear dry, and I think it's mainly because of those large eggs. They must have been extra large. So here's my batter. And this is only going to make me about a dozen matzo balls. Now I made my dough for my matzo, and I'm going to scoop it out into this bowl and cover it with some plastic wrap and put it into the refrigerator for about 2 hours. It's been 2 hours, and we're going to form our matzo balls and then let them set once again. So it's quite the process. I like to kind of wet the spoon so it doesn't stick too much. Take a nice generous tablespoon, and if it starts to stick to my hands, I'm just dipping them into a little cool water. And there we go. Make a ball. So now I'm going to cover them with a piece of wax paper or a piece of parchment paper, and I'm going to return them to the refrigerator just so that they can set up. Because the worst thing that can happen is if your matzo balls break apart when you're trying to cook them. So we're going to let them set. Your other option is to seal them up really well. You can leave them in the refrigerator overnight, or you can freeze them for up to a week. Okay, so our matzo balls are all set up and chilled. And I have a large pot over here that is simmering. You don't want it to really be at a rolling boil. If it's too violent of a boil, the matzo balls will fall apart. So we want it to kind of steam it. I was looking around for my salt. So I'm going to add about 2 tablespoons of salt to the water. So this is a half a pot of water. And we just gently put them in here. And we're going to cook them for 30 to 40 minutes with the lid on. Nice hot steam. Not allowing it to come to a rolling boil. Just a simmer. So check back with me in 30 minutes and we'll see how they look. Okay, so it's time for our matzo balls to be ready. I have a Pyrex container here. If I was ready for dinner and going to serve it right away, I'd go straight to the bowl. I have my broth heated on the stove, and I'm going to put a little bit of broth on the bottom of the Pyrex container to keep the matzo balls moist and to keep them from sticking together. And then I'm going to take a slotted spoon out and use that to lift my matzo balls out of their steam bath. Come in and take a look at how nicely they've puffed up. They look great. They're floating. They're nice and puffy. We just take them out. Okay. So I just top it off with a little bit of broth to keep them from sticking. And I'm just going to cover it lightly until my kids get home so that they can have a nice bowl of matzo ball soup. Okay, JJ's home from school and he's going to try some delicious matzo ball soup. Come and take a look at this. Come in a little close. Jay, you got to watch out because it's hot. Looks like Molly wants some.
That's really good. What's that made out of? The balls.
Matzo balls. You have to watch the video to learn how to make them.
I'll go.
Okay, so that concludes our matzo ball soup episode. I hope that you enjoy making it home with your family.